Welcome to the Pondcast, where today we're having a tea party with Battle Sinistcha. For all you newcomers, our exciting Battle at the Pond series is where we take the same Pokemon in secret and reveal our strategies live. The goal is to inspire out-of-the-box thinking and showcase the boundless possibilities of Pokemon training, and it's all about embracing creativity and showing that there's no one way to train a Pokemon. And let's dive into it. Sinistcha is our Gen 9 Pokemon from the Kitakami area of the DLC. It's a grass ghost type Pokemon, taking 2 times damage from flying, ghost, fire, ice, and dark, taking half damage from ground, water, grass, and electric, and no damage from normal and fighting. Its abilities are Hospitality, which is a unique ability where it heals up to 25% of its partner Pokemon maximum hit points when it enters battle, and its hidden ability is Heat Proof, where it takes half damage from fire type moves and burn status is halved. Its base stats are 508, with its hit points at 71, attack of 60, defense of 106, special attack of 121, special defense of 80, and speed of 70. It has its own signature move called Matcha Gotcha, where it is a grass type special attack with an attack of 80, accuracy 90, and a 20% effect to apply a burn to its target. It also restores the user's hit points by up to half of the damage taken by the target.
So I have Kukicha, the Sinistcha, which is one of my favorite types of tea. I have it with the item leftovers. For the ability, I think it really depends if you're playing doubles or singles. You know, if you're playing doubles, I think Hospitality makes sense. But if you're playing singles, obviously Heat Proof. For moves, I have Scald because yay, I love Scald. It's like my favorite move ever. Matcha Gotcha, of course, Shadow Ball, and then Nasty Plot. And then for EVs, I prioritized HP and defense with 252 in each, and then special attack 4. I plus defense and minus attack. The reason I did this was because I want my Sinistcha to survive long enough to be able to get up a couple nasty plots and then just destroy its enemies.
Yeah, I think Sinistcha is a really interesting Pokemon, quite menacing with its unique move. And yeah, I really like Cayla's build.
Did I mention the Terra type is water? I don't know if I said that. So then it gets the stab for Scald too. Yeah, because then it's got coverage too, because if they try to kill it with fire, we can put it out.
Oh, that's nasty.
I like it.
Absolutely great. She took a very interesting turn going defensive with it, but then also turning it into a setup sweeper, which I wasn't really expecting anything short of impressive from Cayla. She dabbles in a lot of the competitive builds from her channel. And also the point that she brought up is the abilities are very dependent on doubles or singles play. You almost need to have 2 separate builds if you want to dabble in both of those formats. Overall, I love the fact that she named it after her favorite tea, although you might want to watch your tea in case this one slips in amongst them, trying to hide in Matcha Gotcha. I wish I thought of going a little bit more defensive with it, but we'll get to that when you see my build.
Yeah, I really like that you've got Scald on there and that the Terra type is water. I won't say that you may or may not have copied my build. I mean, I'm not saying that, but...
I mean, I did build it when I was playing the DLC. I actually used it in the DLC. It was so much fun.
I love Scald on Sinistcha. It's just like chef's kiss good.
I'm gonna have to agree, including Scald in there. It does give you that type coverage, so definitely much agree. And I think putting the defensive stats as well, so that it can tank hits in order to get the nasty plot up, I think definitely solid, very solid. And the water Terra typing, oh man, I didn't even think about that either. Give that the stab for the Scald so you can do more damage on that. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
I'm not gonna lie, very similar, but all I can picture is this little teacup with this just little turret of just destruction with the Scald and the Matcha Gotcha, with the fact that you can inflict burn 2 different ways and still take that stab against the fire types that would come up against it. I like the build, I like the direction you took this in, and the nasty plot was a really good idea, just to really just bulk up that special attack stat for it.
So my Sinistcha is named I'm a Bitter Teapot, short and stout. Short and stout doesn't fit. Its ability is Heat Proof, just because I wanted to protect it from fire as much as possible. Sort of have a little coverage on the weakness end. Yeah, so EVs are on Special Attack, Special Defense, and the last 4 in HP. It is a Modest Nature, so plus the Special Attack, minus to Attack. And Terra typing Steel, it's got a Life Orb. Moveset is Machagacha, Strength Sap, Nasty Plot, and Hex. Obviously, Machagacha is like really good. It's got that percentage to burn while also recovering. Strength Sap, obviously, based on the target's attack, you'll heal from that, which is good. Nasty Plot to up special attack, because I want it to hit harder. Then Hex, because just in case you get that burn status from Machagacha, then Hex will hurt a lot. All this being paired with Life Orb means serious damage and some decent healing.
I really like how you used Machagacha's 20% chance for burn with Hex. That is just such a good idea because Hex is so crazily powerful when your opponent has a status condition.
I actually really like the name. The name is incredible, but it sells the fact that it's this angry little raging teapot of doom, especially with the Life Orb on there. It has a lot of similarities with some things that I do with my build that we'll get into, especially with the Terra Steel, using the Heatproof combination to boost its defense position. It almost completely gets rid of the worry of fire. You also eliminate some of your other weaknesses, which is absolutely great. Strength Sap, you have a lot more survivability to it, which I don't blame you for using the Strength Sap when you're using a Life Orb that's going to start eating away at your health. All around, great build.
I think we were kind of thinking similar here. So when it gets to that point, there's different slight changes. I do like it, like definitely adding Hex. I like adding the Strength Sap. You can't go wrong with those two moves, especially with the whole Machagacha thing. To more healing, more damage because of the status condition, and then I think Nasty Plot, more damage, and then Heatproof, and then the Terra typing Steel. Definitely another one I wasn't thinking of either. With that Heatproof, pretty nice. I like it.
Terra Steel, definitely not anticipated one, I think. And then the combination of Machagacha, Strength Sap, and Hex, and then paired with Life Orb, that is disgustingly good. I really like that.
Say got a pretty job build and very offensive move that would damage his opponent if he gets status on it.
Yeah, once again, it proves how much me and my brother are actually similar in thought pattern, because Hex is an absolutely astounding move, especially when you've combined it with Machagacha. It's just such a brutal combination if you can throw that burn status, combined with the fact that you can heal off of that, and you're getting a stab move to begin with. That's just a recipe for wrecking balls.
Now, we've seen a lot of really good builds from Cayla's very defensive, and Jay had very similar to what I was trying to aim for, a more offensive build. But there's a reason why I named my Sinistcha Unmatched.
Let's go.
Focusing the EVs, maxing out its HP and special attack, and dropping that little bit into speed. The special attack is also being catered to with its modest nature. This thing is meant to hit hard right out the gate and not have to rely on nasty plots. Heatproof, matched with the Terra Steel, much like Jay's, gives me a much more defensive position, but I'm running Terra Blast on this build as well, which allows me to hit both Fairy and Poison types, and dropping my Fire weakness down to half, so this thing's kind of hard to hit. The other moves on there, I have Machagacha and I have Scald to try to make sure that I have my coverage on being able to hit either side, get that burn, get that healing. And I'm not too worried about taking those hits, as I got this thing wearing an assault vest, so it definitely boosts its bulk and it can take a couple hits. It's going to recover with the Machagacha. It's going to drop that burn on them with Scald. And once you're in that tight squeeze position, it's going to finish it off, much like Jay's, with that Hex. It really hits pretty hard. Shadow Ball could be another more consistent alternative, but I don't think Ghost type offensive is really that significant, so I relied on doing more damage in the long game with Hex. I do have to give a shout out. Usually I do a research of a few different websites, and then I take what information they have and I build my own, but I had a hard time arguing with anything that I found, because I actually found this on a site called Game 8, and shout out to them. This was too amazing for me to really divert from too much, other than maybe changing up like a hold item or the way that they spread out the EVs. So when your research is already done for you, you got to take that lesson.
For X's, build was pretty good overall. It's very strong. Just like I will take him out to maybe like a 1 shot, 2 shot.
I think it's fascinating using heat proof to make it so that you can turn steel and then you can take care of fairies, especially with Terra Blast, because then you get a steel stab move. Like, fairy has always been a tough type since it was introduced to deal with, and this generation is no exception. So having another Pokemon that can deal with fairies is fantastic.
I liked a couple of things about this. I like the coverage with Scald, and that mix up with Hex is a great choice. Same thing with Machigacha, because now you have two options to potentially burn your opponent. I think that's really good. Terra Blast is very interesting, and like Cayla said, reiterating on that, having a steel stab move, it's a really good strategy. I also like the idea of the Assault Vest as the item. It seems like a very balanced Pokemon in terms of attack and defense. You're covering those weaknesses while still having that potential to really go big on the attack side. I also have to commend X on the use of Game 8. I actually also use Game 8, not for Pokemon, for a very great mobile game that I think is severely underrated, which is called Puzzle and Dragons. I think it's really cool that you got it off that source.
Yeah, there must be an echo in this room, because I do really like the combination of the Steel Terra type and Terra Blast. But I also have to commend you on foregoing setting up and just full on pedal to the metal straight out the gate. Yeah, really solid build. Assault Vest, definitely a good play, in my opinion. And then, yeah, again, having Heat Proof in the Steel Terra type, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that.
I do like the option of adding the Assault Vest. The Steel Terra typing mixed with Heat Proof is just like, it just sounds really solid. And the fact that you also added Terra Blast to it, which it's like what Cayla said earlier, like fairy types are running pretty rampant on the ladder or everywhere in general. And then, yeah, it's just having another option to be able to deal with them is always really good. Yeah, and then just going straight modest, no nasty plot, just to dish out as much damage as you can right off the bat.
There is an echo in this room. It's slightly different, but there's an echo in this room. X, I think, I'm going to personally say that I think your build is almost perfect.
Unmatched.
It's unmatched. And the reason I think so is because, to be honest, we're of like minds. We are definitely channeling the champion spirit together on this one. Almost down to everything. I also did Terra Blast, Scald, Hex, Machigacha with the Assault Vest and the Steel Terra typing. I called my Sinistcha Hexathermic because I'm relying on that burn, and I'm going to Hex all day long if I can. With the Machigacha for the sustainability, the Terra Blast to be I think the only place where we diverged was in the EVs, where I put the 252 EVs into hit points, but I dumped the rest into special defense with the remaining 4 into standard defense, and I gave it a calm nature because I wanted to make sure that this particular Pokemon could take hits all day long. And since I'm relying on being able to throw a burn on somebody, I wasn't really too concerned with the physical attack aspect. And Hex is pretty much going to be doing all the heavy lifting for me in this case, so I didn't bother pumping the special attack.
The confidence that you have in naming your Pokemon, literally the strategy that you're about to pull over them, is just absolutely applaudable.
Mind you, I did not use Game 8. I usually just stick to Cerebi to get my information, and then from there just build out. So it's just hilarious that, we've gotten so close with using a website like Game 8, and I've never even heard of them until today.
I mean, I guess my thought is I'm thinking about the current meta and like attackers versus special attackers in the current meta, and I think that's why I went defense, because I'm thinking about what Pokemon I've been having to fight against, but like long term, I don't know what'll be good in the future, so I think that it could, like an Assault Vest Sinistcha could make sense depending on what happens with the meta.
Okay, so for my Sinistcha, I went with Modest with Nature. And then for item, I went with Leftovers. The ability is Hospitality. And for the moves, I went with Machigacha, Sunsport, Foul Play, and Terra Blast. And then the Terra type is Fire. And then my EV spread are max for HP, special attack, and then 4 in special defense.
Huh. I was not expecting the Foul Play, honestly. That's definitely something new.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah, it is, right? And then Fire for Terra typing, yeah?
Yes, Fire.
I mean, granted, you're not using heat proof. Just the fact that you're Terra typing into fire, that's definitely going to throw off some opponents, I think.
Yeah, Foul Play definitely a good shout. Overall, I think, very solid build. Yeah, very, very keen to see how foul play can be used and, what it'll actually do.
Yeah, one of the things that's cool about Sinistcha is it has a very wide range of moves that it can learn. It'll be crazy to go into matches and just be like, all right, what Sinistcha am I going to fight? And then it's like, haha, foul play. What? I think sometimes the element of surprise is something that you really need in a battle. So it could work really well.
Yeah, and I thought the timing of this build being presented, me and Cayla were just mentioning the whole meta and her focus on defense because of the presence of a lot of physical attackers. And then here we see Sonryu pull out foul play and says, yep, there's my response to exactly what you guys were talking about.
So a couple of things. Foul play is interesting because I think most people wouldn't expect you look at Sinistcha's stats and you'd say, oh, well, this person's going for a special attack build if it's a Sinistcha. Going for that route that uses the attack stat is interesting. I think a lot of people wouldn't expect it. Also, the fire Terra typing is really cool because I'm just thinking about if it had heat proof, wouldn't that lessen the damage even more?
No, heat proof would lessen the damage of fire.
I'm just saying that if it's also Terra typing fire, would that lower the damage even?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I think it's a really unexpected play, so that might catch your opponents off guard.
I think the thing that's giving me is the Sinistcha is such a hard pivot with that foul play. The most funny thing is if you combine it with a Pokemon that can learn Swagger, foul play runs off of your target's attack stat, so you Swagger your target and then just beat him with his own strength, and nobody would see that. I don't think anybody would see that coming, because a physical attack coming from a Sinistcha with the low attack stat. So I think that pivot is great. And for people like me, I will tend to lose track of what moves you use. I think that was actually a brilliant move. I like this. I like this a lot.
This is my Sinistcha build. Nickname it Mr. T because, I pity the fool.
Oh, these nicknames are great.
You're going to enjoy this cup of sucker.
Pity the fool.
Terra type Electric Grass. Item is a Miracle Seed. Ability Heat Proof. Moves are Machagacha, Calm Mind, Gold, and then Stun Spore in case any fire types I can't burn. IV spreads are 252 in special attack and 252 into HP.
Okay, definitely a brand new item choice with the Miracle Seed. Improve that damage. And then Calm Mind, definitely another interesting option.
Yeah, I really like how you're maximizing Machagacha as much as possible and getting as much damage out of it as you can. I feel like it's a very straightforward build. It knows what it wants to do and, click A and win, basically.
Okay, I like Jade's build because also increases special defense using Calm Mind with special attack, so make it more challenging to take it down, from special attacker, and then also it will take him out too.
I think it's really interesting, the use of the Miracle Seed, like Cayla pointed out, to help maximize that Machagacha, which once you're burned, your physical attack drops as well. So they focus on the Calm Mind use to build up the special defense. Much like what I did with my build, is each time I saw what I was lacking, my next move was to just cover that next wound, so to speak. And I really like the build, and I think it's a very straightforward thing. It's very much, like I said, on the same mind that I feel like I was going for. I just probably got a little help.
Miracle Seed, I think, was a really cool choice because it does up the damage. Calm Mind as well to further boost that. Stun Spore is a really interesting choice because we all sort of did some way to circumvent fire. I don't think any of us really touched on not being able to place a status on fire types. So I think Stun Spore is a really good choice. Scald, same thing. Water to fire, so it's also a good deterrent. Yeah, if anything, I really like this build. I think I might make adjustments to mine where I might change Calm Mind for Hex, and that way, whether I burn a Pokemon or I Stun Spore them, I still get the double power off the Hex.
I don't know if Miracle Seed even crossed my mind for the Machagacha combo, so I think that in itself gives you a lot more sustainability. The Calm Mind to boost up your defenses, and then running Stun Spore and Scald. I think you've got yourself a really tricky build to fight against, because if you can be burned by a water or the grass type attack, if you can't be stunned with the Stun Spore. And I like the fact that you've given yourself that flexibility to really just shut down your opponent and your opposition. Yeah, I'm really digging this build. I do like it a lot.
So this is my Sinistcha. It is its name has been used, I think. I think Lumi definitely used it at one point as well. But this is my Sinistcha Frank. He is a calm-natured Sinistcha with full points into HP. I put like 200 into special defense, and then I put like another 56 in regular defense. I think I was trying to go for like a different EV spread after watching some draft league videos. But oddly enough, though, this Sinistcha, I think I made it more for 2v2 anyways. It has the Terra Grass typing, definitely has Hospitality, and the item I gave it is the Big Root. Reasons for that being is because I do have them with Matcha Gacha and Strength Sap on it. Matcha Gacha I think definitely is a staple. Strength Sap also works pretty well when you're going up against those heavy physical hitters. And then I did also go with Scald for type coverage, and I also went with Hex for the stab plus, more damage on the status conditions of being burnt. That is it. That's it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you took the best parts of each build and just mushed them together and came up with a really solid build. Again, Strength Sap, love it. Terra Grass, can't really go wrong, especially with Heat Proof. Yeah, really solid overall.
I thought it was awesome, but the biggest thing that I really thought was the use of the Big Root to boost the healing factor of the Matcha Gacha, and that's really going to be interesting depending on how much it boosts the healing to see if it's going to be really worthwhile as opposed to some of the other items, where Miracle Seed on the previous build really boosted the attack, which will indirectly boost the healing. So it really depends on how much of an effect those held items have in their respective areas to see which ones will be better. But both of them were really interesting to see on there. I wasn't even thinking about those when I was doing my build.
I like the way how Guren built his. It's more defensive, survival ability, with the Big Root getting more HP, which is pretty good.
I feel like this whole video is kind of like different ways to maximize Matcha Gacha, like either different items or different moves to just make Matcha Gacha more powerful. And it's so fascinating to see how many different ways there are to like work with this one move because it's such a good move,
Yeah, so I think the core theme around Sinistcha is we have the same sort of core idea, and I think it just goes to show the type of potential that Sinistcha has when it comes to doing these competitive builds. So yeah, I think it was really cool. I think overall it's a really decent Pokemon. It's a good build, and yeah.
See, for me, Big Root's a great idea too. I was honestly thinking about maybe using that one. And then there's something to be said about Strength Sap too. It does give you diminishing returns, so the weaker your opponent is, the less it's going to heal. But overall, I still think that you've got a great build. You've got a great way of keeping yourself up while tearing your opponent's attack stat down, which is your weaker defense, and then making them having to work for it. And with that, we'll bring our episode to a close. Let us know what you thought about some of our builds. How would you build your Sinistcha? Be sure to share, like, subscribe. Let us know how we're doing. And I want to thank Cayla, Jay from the passenger seat, and X from Last Champion Spirit. It's always a joy to have you guys on. And as always, have a wonderful day. Bye.
Don't cry over spilled tea.
Unless you're spilling tea.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Alpha Mike Foxtrot, everyone.
What are you still doing here? I thought you left like yesterday.